Hello guys, how are you? I hope you all are doing good. So today we are gonna interpret theory of philosopher king given by Plato. So Plato gives the theory of philosopher king. It is one of his most important political work which he has given to the political science. In it he says if we want to live, he says if we want to live happily, happily in the ideal state, in the ideal state means the state where there is peace and stability, harmony and excellence. Then we should live in a state where philosophers are ruler, are, are men of knowledge are ruler. He says, until philosophers are ruler or ruler learn philosophy, there, there is no end to predicament of human life. Problem when the ignorant person will rule. Plato says, ignorant person can't do justice, as they lack reason. They will run after money and power, as they are having appetite in dominance. The state is best governed. The state is best governed where rulers are reluctant to govern compared to where they are eager to govern. In his views, when the ruler is not in a desire to become a ruler, then he will don't have the desire to have the money and power. So he will do the justice to his post. Now look into the qualities of philosopher king. Qualities of philosopher king is he is man of knowledge, man of knowledge. After 50 years of gaining knowledge, he became a wise man. So it is the quality of him. He is also the symbol of sacrifice because because he has sacrificed desire, property, and family. Desire, property, and family he has given because in his views the state is his family and the state's commodities are his properties. Powers of philosopher king. To justify the powers of philosopher king, he has given a statement that no law or ordinance is mightier than knowledge. Through this statement, you can realize that the Plato has given his philosopher king that absolute power, and this power can be the best if he practices it in good manner, and it can be the worst if he do not does it in the lucky manner. He has put no limitations on Philosopher King's power. Philosopher King have absolute power because because he has ultimate wisdom, which cannot be challenged. It cannot be challenged by law. He says there is no match between the wisdom of Philosopher King and the no match between the Philosopher King and Book of Law. He says it is foolish to limit the expert practitioner of medicine to the book. He says that if, that Philosopher King is a specialist in his work, so he can't be guided by the book of law because he has absolute wisdom, so he can perform his duty well. In his views, it is because that the wisdom, law represent average wisdom, which is rigid. It is not flexible according to situation. Let's take an example that a person kills someone while defending himself from a robber or a murderer who has came to kill him. But he has defended himself and he killed the murderer who has come to kill. But in the eyes of law, if there is law, then the law will decide the charges of the murderer, and it can be something that which can be some sort of lenient. But if there is the law rule of Philosopher King, which is not guided by the law but his wisdom, then he will probably take the right decision that this person tries to defend himself, so it cannot be the wrong, and he doesn't to be the guilty. Now look into the philosopher advantages of the rule of Philosopher King. Now we'll look into the advantages of rule of Philosopher King over rule of law. I have already done it. Let's elaborate. His statement is, for no law or ordinance is mightier than knowledge. This statement shows his ultimate power that he has given to the Philosopher King. Now look into the arguments that he has given. No law or ordinance is mightier than knowledge. It means, he says, it is foolish to limit the expert practitioner to book. Philosopher King is an expert in his profession, so he doesn't need to be go through the book of law because he has a reason in dominance, so he can do the justice to his work. Rule of Philosopher King versus rule of public opinion or law. Philosopher King has absolute knowledge. Philosopher King has absolute knowledge, which is many times preferable preferable with common man's knowledge, who has not done the study of 50 years, which which Philosopher King has done. He has the wisdom of the common man, so he can't be the can't make the decision quite good. Rule of philosopher king is superior to the law of because law represents average wisdom, whereas philosopher king has true knowledge. Law represents average wisdom, and philosopher king has true knowledge. Law is rigid, and as it cannot be appropriate in all situations. Plato prefers autocracy over democracy. Plato prefers government of a specialist over generalist. There is a story and dialogue between Plato, through which he criticized the democracy. He says, if there is ship, if there is ship, like you can imagine with it, look into it, uh, and there are passengers sitting on it. There are four are common peoples, and two are some voyagers, sailors who are riding the ship. Then there comes sudden storm. So will they go for a democratic to how the sailor should go ride aboard if they have to turn back to the other route or take a different route? Is it possible? No, it can't be. They can't do here a democracy because if they do it through democracy, then they will die because the four peoples are common men. They do not have the knowledge of how to voyage a ship, but there is two sailors who are experienced who have sailed through the whole world. Then, but they are in minority. Is their decision should be rejected because they are in minority? No, they are specialists in their work. So their decisions should be preferred, and it will be better than the common man's decision. So that's the argument that the Plato gave while describing his criticism through democracy. And it is there is also one story because Socrates has given death punishment. At that time also, democracy was there. So because of his teacher also, he doesn't like democracy because because of these statements, Plato is also known as father of totalitarianism. He undermines democracy, rule of law. He has given all the monopoly to the philosopher king. Now we will look into the Aristotle criticism of Plato. He is the greatest disciple and greatest critic of Plato. Let's look. He says, law is a reason without passion. Law is a reason without passion. Means law doesn't have any sort of passion in front of law. All are equal. Law doesn't differentiate between the rich and poor. He just go according to the law. So law is always good other than the philosopher king. By criticizing philosopher king, he says that if person has reason in him, then he is gonna have the appetite too. But at some point, his appetite can be dominant, and the reason can decrease. So it is not always good. So it is not always good to be the philosopher king going through his wisdom. It can be manipulated by the other means. He says rule of law may not be best, but it is best practicable. Aristotle always goes through the middle path, while Plato is goes extreme. That's why Plato's philosopher king always utopia. Remain utopia means his philosopher king is not achieved. Plato's model of governance cannot be applied in any state since time being. So its form of government is still absolute, or his government is always in his dreams, and Plato has gone, but his dream is there, but it cannot be achievable because it is not feasible in the society. So that's all for today. Bye bye. Meet you in another interpretation.